If you're having symptoms that feel like they're more than normal mood swings, it can be hard to tell what's going on, and even harder to know what to do about it. I have bipolar disorder myself. Most of us don't get diagnosed because we notice some casual symptoms. We get diagnosed after something serious happens. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the symptoms people usually notice first and what to do if these symptoms sound like what you're experiencing. I can't diagnose you, but I can tell you what bipolar disorder feels like from the point of view of someone who lives with it. And I can help point you in the right direction to what to do if you think you might have it. I'm Patty, the girl with blue energy. I have bipolar disorder and I make videos about mental health and personal growth. The first symptom you're going to want to know about is emotional dysregulation. Now, this might be something that you're not experiencing at the moment, but if you have bipolar disorder, you've probably experienced it, either in childhood or at some point. Emotional dysregulation means that you have difficulties managing your emotions. So you might cry more easily, get worked up more easily, get angry and explode more easily. And a lot of times, those of us who have bipolar disorder had really bad issues with tantrums and crying in childhood. We may have been in the principal's office or something like that because we just couldn't get our emotions in check and under control. So if you remember having episodes where you just cried and cried and cried and just couldn't get it together, or cried more easily, or had tantrums that lasted a really long time, that's a good indicator that you might have bipolar disorder, or that you have, some type of issues with regulating your emotions, which usually goes along with bipolar disorder. The next big symptom is serious depression. Now, a lot of people think of mood swings when they think about bipolar disorder. So what they think they're looking for is major mood swings, major ups and downs, but a lot of times the mania and hypomania come later. The first symptom most people see who have bipolar disorder is episodes of serious depression. And these usually start pretty young. A lot of times they start around 11, 12, 13, 14, somewhere in there, and you'll start having really serious episodes of depression. Sometimes they're brief episodes, but sometimes they go on for several months, and they're pretty significant, not feeling a little down, but pretty severe episodes of depression. I know for me, it started around 12, and the first major episode of depression was around 14, then 16, and then at 18 is when they started getting really bad. So if you're experiencing severe episodes of depression that get better and then come back again, this could be signs of bipolar disorder, especially early on. Now, the thing you need to keep in mind is that people can have depression and not have bipolar disorder. So if you're not seeing the mood swings yet, it could be bipolar disorder, or it could just be depression. Another symptom of bipolar disorder is relationship issues. Now, this one's not going to show up in any textbooks or online articles, but it is something you will see if you have bipolar disorder. We tend to have issues with our relationships, and this usually starts early on. So as soon as we start having relationships, we start having relationship issues. We tend to fall very fast for someone, get really attached really quickly, get clingy and codependent even at a really young age. Separations, like when we have a breakup, are catastrophic. So when we start dating, our relationships can be really intense. And if we break up, we can become completely irrational, extremely depressed. And these are some signs that you might have bipolar disorder. Not to say that people can't have relationship issues without it, but if you do have relationship issues along with some of the other signs, pay attention, because this could be a sign of bipolar disorder. The next symptom might surprise you. Number 4 is the happy one. And the reason I say the happy one is because a lot of us are viewed as the happy ones. Before we get fully diagnosed with bipolar disorder, we may have a happier, more energetic, bubbly personality. So our baseline is a little more up than other people. So people will see us as the happy ones because we are energetic. We are the life of the party. We might be funnier or just more bubbly and friendly and happy. That's how we appear. But this is before the full-fledged mania starts or before we even start having episodes of hypomania. We might just have this happy appearance. A lot of us have this early on in the disorder, and then later when the depression starts, we start seeing the hypomania and the mania that mixes with the depression. But at first, we're the happy ones. Number 5 is talking too fast. Now, not everyone sees this early on in the disorder. Sometimes they don't see it until they start having hypomanic or manic episodes. But I started seeing this pretty early. So what happens is we start talking really fast. It's not just that we talk a lot. It's that when we get in this hypomanic state, we start talking really, really, really fast. And there's no pauses in between our words. You can't get a word in if we're talking. Our speech might jump around from subject to subject to subject. But the big thing is it's like this pressured speech where we talk super fast and you definitely won't get any words in. If you do this or anyone's told you that you talk too fast or too much in this context, this could be a symptom of bipolar disorder. Number 6, antidepressants don't work for you or they make you manic. Now let me talk about this for a minute. A lot of times when someone is struggling with depression, the first thing their doctor does is put them on an antidepressant. Now, if that's you and depression is your major issue, that might be the right thing to do. However, if you have bipolar disorder, antidepressants often don't work and they often trigger mania. For me, antidepressants were how I got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was put on an antidepressant because I was really depressed. And they didn't know I had bipolar disorder at the time, which is why I'm discussing some of the symptoms that I experienced that your doctor might not necessarily think about because you're not necessarily having full-blown manic episodes or even significant hypomanic episodes at this point. So for me, as soon as I was put on an antidepressant, within a week, I was manic, and shortly after, I ended up hospitalized. I say this because if you're on an antidepressant and you suspect you might have bipolar disorder, you need to be mindful of your symptoms. So if you start noticing that you're getting a little agitated or you have weird energy, because it's not always like this positive energy. You can have this mixed energy where you're depressed, but also have all this anxious energy at the same time. So pay attention to that, because when you take antidepressants, if you have bipolar disorder, it can trigger a manic episode. So these aren't all the possible symptoms of bipolar disorder. And you can have these symptoms and not have bipolar disorder at all. These are just the kind of things you might notice first. But a lot of us have that inner voice in us that tells us something is not right. If any of these symptoms sound like you, or if you just think you might have bipolar disorder, the first step for you to do is talk to your doctor. You don't have to go in and say, "Hey doc, I think I have bipolar disorder." You can just go in and talk about your symptoms. And then your doctor will help you to figure out what's going on and what the next steps are to take. I hope this video was helpful. I tried to discuss the symptoms that many of us experienced when we were first diagnosed. You may not see all these symptoms if you do a Google search of bipolar disorder symptoms, but these are symptoms that most of us experienced early on. And it may help you to identify if you have bipolar disorder, especially if you're just starting to see symptoms. I try to make content that's not what's already out there and useful stuff for people who want to know more about bipolar disorder from someone who actually lives with it. So if you liked my video, please help me out and click the like button on this video, and of course subscribe to my channel. I'll have another video for you guys soon.